Hey everyone, welcome back to the Immergence Show. Super excited to have you all here today because we're diving into something big. The way brands connect with audiences is changing fast. And if you are in marketing, branding, or creative tech, this is one you do not want to miss. Let's be real, traditional ads are just not working the way they used to. Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're not just watching, they're playing, interacting, and expecting brands to engage with them in entirely new ways. So today we're talking about the rise of playable brands because the brands that don't evolve, they're getting just left behind. And we have a perfect guest to break this all down. Joining us is Nick Hill, co-founder and chief innovation officer at Sawhorse Production. His team has worked with some of the biggest brands, creating immersive experiences that go beyond just watching and actually get audiences engaged. He is here to share what's working, what's not, and how you can adapt to this shift now. So if you know someone in marketing, branding, or tech who needs to hear this, tag them in the chat right now and invite them to join us. All right, let's get into it. Nick, welcome to the show.
Nico, thank you for having me. Super happy to be here.
Amazing. Awesome. Yeah, I know you started this agency a while back before this emerging tech becomes popular. So tell us a little bit about, your professional journey, kind of how you got it started and, how you got into space.
Yeah, so I can start back from the beginning. I was always a creative. I loved movies. I also loved video games. I grew up as a fan, kind of immersed in those worlds. And I went to school for media. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of UGC gaming opportunities and platforms as there are today. There were more UGC like video platforms like YouTube and all of these other social platforms. So I kind of got into the immersive kind of filmmaking and storytelling video side of that creative. Didn't really do any of the video game stuff. Founded a company, started creating video work and branded content for brands, agencies, and studios. And that production company continued to grow year after year for about 13 years. And then during the pandemic, we had to kind of rethink the way we were doing our work, mainly because we couldn't be on set filming with real humans. So and also I have a large team at Sawhorse that we have to support every month, and we didn't want to lay anybody off. So we really had to think about like, well, how can we keep this machine going as a creative agency? How can we keep making stuff and helping these brands tell their stories without physically being in places? So the first obvious pivot was into live streaming. So we did a ton of live streaming work and also remote shooting. One of our biggest clients during that time was Netflix. We did an insane amount of new content and social branded content work with them. And then another area we kind of moved into was building 3D immersive gamified experiences on Roblox. So I had a close friend that worked at Roblox at the time. He kind of pulled us in and said, "You guys are a creative agency. You should be building here." I told him that we're not a game studio. That makes me very nervous. He said, "Don't worry about it. This is a no code kind of like low lift, low barrier to entry kind of video game creation platform." So I trusted him. We pulled in some native devs from the platform, some native 3D artists, and then we kind of grabbed the rest of our team that was as far as like art directors, creative directors, producers, and they kind of learned the Roblox ecosystem. And together we all worked together to build our first project on the platform, which was Alo Yoga. And since then we've worked with some of the biggest brands. And it kind of opened my brain to be like, wow, this is the future of marketing. This is the future of advertising. Because if you look at where young people are spending their time, they're spending a lot of it on social platforms and a lot of it on gaming and UGC gaming platforms. So if brands want to reach audiences, they have to go to those spaces.
Yes, totally. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, so it's very interesting how you kind of transitioned kind of like unexpectedly. But I'm sure like you had some other data points, like you have your own kids and you're looking at, what they're spending their time on and stuff like that. And I'm sure there has been, that other than pandemic and, difficulties associated with that, there have been other challenges along the way of doing traditional advertising that now you see opportunities here. Can you tell us a little bit more about, those aha moments and, lessons that you kind of carried over to this?
Yeah, I think one aha moment is when you talk to young people and they tell you that they discovered a brand on Roblox. It's kind of insane for me to think about that, just living in the real world, I'm a bit older, consuming different types of media, and even like from an out of home standpoint, everyone drives down the street, you see billboards, and there's brand recognition there. But you'd be surprised, you talk to a lot of young people and they're like, I never knew what Gucci was until I discovered Gucci on Roblox. I didn't know that was a brand. And then I thought it was cool. Then it opened their minds to kind of like think about what's Gucci in the real world, and that's how they discovered it.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. I want to take a moment and thank our amazing community for being here. Shadi, Ian, Felipe, everyone else who's tuning in, Jessica. We're so grateful for you all to be always supporting us, and we have a great conversation. So feel free to share your questions, comments, thoughts in the chat, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. 70% of Gen Z do that. Totally. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of change of habits, and we have to kind of adapt. Otherwise, this is just not going to work. Cool. So let's get into kind of like this transition and mixing the creative side of the agency with these new technologies. Can you tell us a little bit about the process that you had to go through for those who are tuning in and are kind of hesitant to make this transition? Like what would you recommend?
That's a great question. It's just taking one step back though. Like any production company has worked on different mediums mostly. Everything from like short form video to long form video to maybe even like a print ad, right? So if you think about it, it's a creative idea and then it's leveraging a different type of medium to get that out. So I think inherently creatives and production companies and agencies, they do kind of think in that way. But the difference is when you go from like I would call it like a top down or like a flat type of communication where it's not interactive. When you go from that to a fully interactive experience, which means it's always on, it's kind of persistent, you have people engaging with it in real time, it is quite a jump. So it is a little scary to think in that way, but it's not impossible and it's exciting. I would say that it's more engaging, it's more challenging, but also more rewarding to do this type of work. But that is the most difficult shift, is you can't just make one master file that is amazing and your message is done and then you send it out to the world and you walk away. Like the second it's live, it's already an ongoing conversation. So you may have to change it throughout the campaign. And there's all kinds of pros and cons there, but it's just it's a different way of thinking, and it's exciting.
That's such a good point. Yeah, because like movies and traditional ads, it's just like you kind of trust your creative team and overall and ideas. But when you're in making a game or interactive experience, it's just like feedback is in your face. Like even while you're promoting it, and people are not hesitant to just share their opinion. And
there's that, and there's also another point, which is you're designing an experience that has an evolution. So it's not just like example is like a commercial or like a short piece of branded content that's like a little 5-minute video. The whole design and the purpose is for the audience to watch that 5 minutes, be affected by it, and then they can move on. And that the messaging there is done. But with immersive experiences, oftentimes, especially gamified ones, it's sort of, you're kind of designing it to be like, well, you experience that on Monday for 10 minutes. We want you to come back on Wednesday for 2 minutes, and then on Friday come back again. It's a completely different type of design.
That's such a good point. And Ian says effective creative is fluid. Absolutely. And I think your dog wants to engage with us. It's a very interactive experience.
Yeah, yeah, my dogs. I have 2 dogs, and they're kind of going wild. So I apologize for the barking.
It's okay. And Ian also says multi-medium creates a more holistic thought. Absolutely. And Chris says, what responsibility do Playable brands have when it comes to cybersecurity? We will get to that question shortly. But thank you so much for your great comments and questions. So I'm curious, Nick, from your perspective of working with brands, how hard has it been to kind of onboard them? Do you see that there is a shift to embrace these interactive experiences? Or is it just limited to a very few? What is kind of your perspective on that?
I think we're still in early days, honestly. It's still in a test and learn innovation space. But to go back to the earlier comment about how, I think that entertainment itself is shifting with younger generations. And I think that younger generations are going to demand more interactivity in the entertainment media they consume. We're already seeing super decline in the amount of people watching TV, decline in going to the movie theaters. We're seeing a huge, watch any young person hang out in the living room when it's like family time. Yes. They're usually on a device, and that's usually some sort of UGC or immersive platform of some kind. So if you're smart and you're focused and you're studying the landscape, it's kind of obvious that all media in the future is going to be more interactive. And if brands want to stay relevant to those younger audiences, they have to understand how to show up in those interactive spaces. So as of right now, we still have the traditional machine, radio people still listen to the radio, people still watch TV, there's still linear ads. So obviously out of home, there's no technology attached to out of home at this point. It's all flat billboards. So, the agencies and the large media companies, there's a ton of traditional marketing and advertising that they're going to continue to leverage. It's just the innovative ones and the innovative companies that are starting to test and learn in these new spaces. I think it's foreign to a lot of people because they're older. The people in authority at these platforms or at these media companies and agencies, they're a bit older. A lot of them didn't grow up as gamers, so they don't understand it. They just understand it through watching their kids. So there isn't a natural sort of pathway for them to be like, of course we'll do our broadcast spot and our Roblox experience because I understand Roblox and I understand the value of it. They don't quite understand that. So I think there's a huge amount of education that you have to have with brands every time, you get on the call with them to figure out like what their goals are, explain to them what these platforms are, what the demographic is like, how to activate, pros and cons, etc. And then you kind of have to shepherd them in and, create these amazing activations. And then reporting is really important because you have to come back and say, this is how it performed. And then benchmarking is really important because then you have to say, look, you spent this much on your social campaign, you spent this much on your broadcast campaign, and you got this much engagement here, this much engagement here, this much engagement here. So that's, you kind of explain to them the value so they understand. But we're seeing a trend for the past 5 years. There's more and more brands activating in these immersive platforms. So the trend's moving in that direction. But just to sum it up, to answer your question, a lot of brands are very interested. A lot of brands do not have the education or the background. You need to work with them and help educate them and explain the value and then partner and create something.
Thank you. Thank you for the summary as well. So is it mostly just education or do you see other barriers for the brand side?
Well, one is that anytime you activate in a new space, there's not a lot of data to draw from as you're making your decisions. So if you're trying to look at a brand strategy for the year, their marketing strategy, where they're going to put their money and why, and how it's justifiable. It's hard to do that when there's not a lot of data or a lot of studies about the value. So for instance, like if someone goes to Roblox and visits your experience and spends 10 minutes in there, what is that worth? What is that worth compared to somebody watching TV and seeing a commercial for 30 seconds? These old models, they all have, price tags and studies that have, proven value. This is an area that is still in the process of proving value. So that's, one of the biggest challenges right now.
And how do you address that? What are the key metrics that you guys are tracking? And, kind of like, how do you address those concerns?
Yeah, that's a great question. There, in marketing and advertising, as you know better than anybody, there's the funnel. The top of funnel is just awareness, having people understand who that brand is and what they are. And then at the bottom of the funnel is direct conversion. So or loyalty. So, an audience saw that thing, they were excited, and then they immediately clicked on a button, and then they bought the product. So I think right now we're very much in the brand marketing, kind of the top of funnel phase. Mm-hmm. And you can easily activate in these platforms. And if you have some decent marketing strategy, you can get big engagement. So very successful top of funnel, meaning you can get millions of young people to engage with your experience. Also, time spent. So the first metric is like, did they see it? Same way, like, did they watch it on the commercial? But time spent's a big one, especially on social, because a lot of brands are so happy when they get somebody to watch like half of their ad, which is maybe, let's say, 30-second spot. I think it's 15 seconds. Most people watch, 15 seconds or more. Great. But in these immersive experiences, the benchmark for branded experiences is like 10 minutes, up to like 30 minutes, an hour. Yeah. Like that is really deep, valuable engagement. So you can kind of compare the numbers and you can kind of show like, do your immersive experience and like, just like your other ads, you're getting a lot of eyeballs on it, but you're getting way more engagement. They're more focused. And I would argue that that's better from a brand marketing perspective, because those audiences, they go deeper into your brand and they understand it a bit more and they think about it more. And I think it leaves a more lasting impression on those audiences.
How about conversion? I mean, one of the challenges is that I know you guys partnered with Walmart, for example, that started bringing e-commerce but into the Roblox, but still a lot of folks think that, these are just kids. They may not have as much buying power, or, these microtransactions wouldn't add up. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I think the monetization and the attribution, direct sales, bottom funnel, this is all challenges that everyone is addressing right now in the immersive space. I think one of the biggest challenges is, forget about the word metaverse. Let's just call it UGC gaming. There are these UGC gaming platforms that have tons of people on it. And they're moving in the direction of the metaverse, which will be this big connected space where tons of people are spending tons of time and they're doing tons of different things. Like that is the direction we're heading, but we are not there. It does not exist. So we can't think in that way. The way we have to see it is these are gaming platforms where young people are coming here to play games. They're not coming here to shop. They're not coming here to, catch up and have calls with their friends and family. They're here to play games socially. So they want to be connected with their friends, but once they're in the space, they have to do something. They can't just sit on a boat with great art fidelity and talk. There has to be some sort of gamification attached to it. So that's the reality that we're living in right now. But I forgot your question. Can you say it one more time?
What would you say if brands are asking for conversion results, and it's not that easy when it's not your platform?
Yes. So yes, a lot of these platforms are walled gardens that are controlled, that have rules and their terms of service. You're not allowed to sometimes put a direct link to buy the thing here. So you have to think outside the box and like, how are we going to message and connect the outside world? I would say all of these are extremely valuable for brand awareness top of funnel. When you start to get lower, you can still do it, but you have to be more creative about how you link those worlds out. And also my point earlier about they're coming there to game, they're not coming there to shop. This is a trained behavior that will change over time, because we already have great solutions for shopping in the real world. Like all of like shopping online, these things are very simple and effective. It's going to take time once we start adding e-commerce, v-commerce into all these experiences. You'll get to a point where users are so used to seeing it and they spend so much time in these platforms, they're going to say, well, why would I leave and go to like Amazon to buy something because I already have it here, you know? But we're not there yet. So I would say that brands that are looking to like monetize now, like get into the immersive space and start making all this money. It's like, we're not quite there yet, but that is the direction that we're moving in right now.
Totally. Yeah. It goes back to the education parts, and explaining what this really is, where we are, all of that, which makes, being innovative a little bit challenging, but, it's also part of the game. And let's get into some of the comments from the audience. They're very engaged. And Ian says that the power that comes back from us being in such an early space allows us to paint the landscape of how immersive consumerism will be received. At a very macro level, the work that Sawhorse and other immersive media platforms are doing is what builds ships. Let's sail. Amazing. Ian is a super fan. Amazing. Thank you, Ian. And Yemi says, when I was growing up, gaming was seen as just willing away valuable time. Now it's a thriving economy with a strong community made up the generation that will determine the next 100 years of our spending culture. Brands not looking at immersive tech at the moment are clearly still living in the past. Yes.
And I would say you're going to be a little obsolete, because the oldest rule in marketing is meet them where they're at, which is basically go to the place that they are and show up in a way that it's going to be perceived. We're in a situation where if you're not showing up in those places, then you won't show up at all. Not today, but 10 years from now, yes. So that's the direction we're moving.
Thank you. And Halo says, Roblox B2C idea needs to be remade. Today's idea to squeeze every Robux out of it has brought a chance from play to earn to play to purchase, and shouldn't be the main idea when diving into a kid's playground, but the massification of sales is what attracts them only. What do you think about that, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, any platform needs to figure out how to make money, and that's because it has to run. I mean, the amount of servers and the amount of team that it takes to keep Roblox afloat is a lot. So you have to figure out how that's going to get paid for. And right now, it's just through the organic economy of the user base, player base, playing the games, buying the virtual objects, and then also in-game purchases for just the experience of playing. That's the majority of the monetization that they have currently. They are trying to figure out how to work with brands to monetize it. If you look at an example of like Facebook or Meta, they did a fantastic job with that. They had a social UGC game or UGC platform that was growing exponentially, and they figured out, how are we going to work with these brands to attach ads and make this, successful? It's more traditional, it's more video based, right, and text based, so it's easier for us to understand. That needs to happen on the gaming side and the UGC side, and it quite hasn't happened yet. And that will help the monetization and help this be more cost effective and easy for users. But it's going to take time for us to get there. And think about this. We're talking about UGC gaming platforms. So their priority is to create games for users. It's not to, sell ads. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's, and putting ads into video games is, I don't know, it's not as easy as just throwing a billboard up. So it's something we all need to figure out.
And they are not easy audiences. I have gone deeper into this gaming community now with my role at IGDA, and I see They're not your typical audience that will just, accept anything you put in front of them. They're very critical, and that makes the job harder. So
Yeah, I mean, you can look at that as a challenge, or you could also look at it as an opportunity.
totally.
Because yeah, they're judgmental, but they're also being themselves, and you have to respect that. The thing is, when you have agency and you have choices in the platform that you're on, if there's an ad that's intrusive, that's getting in the way of you wanting to do the thing you want to do, it's easy just to skip out of that or move past it or hate that. Unlike TV, for instance, linear TV, like you're forced to watch the ad. So we all thought that was okay. But we're moving into a world where that is no longer okay, in my opinion. You can look at it as an opportunity. How can I build an immersive, interactive experience that's branded, that's relevant to that audience, that's so interesting to them that they will choose to opt in to participate with what we built. We can give them something of value. We can entertain them, and we can give them something of value. So they walk away and they say, wow, I really had fun jumping into that Tide experience. I chose to do it. I had fun. I earned something. Now I'm thinking about Tide. Win-win, But that's difficult to do at scale. It's not like Tide just made one experience and rolled it out across every UGC gaming platform. That's a one-off activation that had to be designed from scratch.
Yes, there are a lot of tips and tricks, and I think that's a good segue to get into some of the work that you have done, and share with our audience, and then get into what not to do in this space. But yeah, if you don't mind sharing your screen and walk us through one or two of those experiences that you created, what works, what doesn't, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen and I'll go through one project that we did recently that I thought was pretty cool as far as engagement. Let's see.
And I see we have a lot of questions, so we'll get to those as well. But I want our audience to kind of see some of the great works you have done, if they haven't already seen.
Cool. So this project was for the entertainment vertical. We did this with.
I don't think we see it. It hasn't started yet.
It hasn't started yet. It will start. I'm just kicking it off. So this is for our client NBC Universal for the film Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, so we did a big activation on Roblox. I'll just play it right now. And the idea was to promote the film. It came out 3 weeks before the movie came out. And we built on Roblox, and we created a 2-player obby game type where users had to team up with another random person or a friend in their server, and they had to go through obstacle courses to progress through the game and unlock different UGC items that were inspired by art from the film. And also they could unlock an emote, which was a animated thing that Poe does, the main character, and you can attach that animation to your own avatar, and then you can use that throughout the entire platform. So, that's just one example of things that you can do.
Beautiful. I think you all spoke about this at AWE. Is that right? I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's such a good example that we're using these new generations of ads or media to promote the old version of media. And that's really cool, especially when your audience are kids.
Yeah. Well, that's really important, and that's something that the executive from NBCU said at AWE was that when you're marketing a film that's, say, PG-13, it's in that range, they're looking for an audience that's 13 and younger, and she directly says, like, they can't reach them with TV because the kids aren't watching TV. They can't reach them with social platforms, because if the kids are using social platforms properly, they're age gated as well. So they don't even have accounts yet. So places like Roblox are like the only place to reach them at scale. So I would say the entertainment industry, more than any other vertical, they're all leaning in. they're looking at Roblox as part of their media strategy, not their immersive and innovation bucket. This is coming out of the direct marketing budgets, where they say, we're going to do a social strategy, we're going to do some TV ads, we're going to do some out of home, we're going to do Roblox, straight up. And check this out, like the audience on Roblox is, younger for the most part. The majority of the platform is under 13. There's a significant chunk that's over, but the studios are seeing Roblox as their solution to promote 13, PG-13 films and under. Now they're looking at Fortnite as their solution to promote like R-rated films, because the audience is a little bit older, a little bit more male, and a little bit more like sort of violence and different sort of themes that's better. So we just worked with Warner Brothers to promote their new film, Mickey 17, on Fortnite specifically, because that's an R-rated film. It's more violent, it's more aged up, and Fortnite was a better home for them for that type of IP.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, these are the most popular two platforms right now, Fortnite and Roblox. So, and I think it's easier to, I want to hear your thoughts as well. It's easier to go on a platform that has existing audience that are coming back and looking for something new and creative versus going for white label ones. What are your thoughts on that?
What do you mean by white label ones?
Like, let's say Universal is starting their own metaverse or immersive experience, and then like trying to drive traffic to that. That's a lot harder.
Yeah, it's tricky because, if you're looking at these as immersive commercials, and the whole point of a commercial is to make sure all the people see it. That's the whole point. That's what you're paying all the money for, is to maximize the amount of people that see it. So that's why activating inside of these UGC gaming platforms is a good solution for brands, as opposed to spinning up their own experience or their own, immersive web-based platform from scratch, because that platform has no audience yet. So it's becomes challenging because there's the cost to make the experience, and then B, there's the cost to drive people to it. And if you activate within an existing UGC gaming platform that has a big audience, you're automatically taking advantage of the people that are there. Roblox has almost 90 million daily active users, so that's a substantial number. But to take it one step further, once you're inside Roblox, there's kind of a couple different paths you can take. One path is make your own experience. You can make, like we did, Kung Fu Panda, its own standalone experience, and then launch that on Roblox next to a million other experiences. So even in that scenario, you have to figure out how to market and get people into that, make them aware of it, and help them funnel them in. Another way to activate in these platforms is to do an integration. And so that's where you identify a game that has a ton of concurrent users, a very popular game, has a lot of traffic ongoing, and you partner with that dev studio and you figure out how to integrate that brand or that message into that game for a short amount of time. And that way, the second you show up, you don't have to spend any money on marketing or user acquisitions, because they're just already playing the game and then they just see it. So those are kind of like two different approaches. And personally, I like leveraging all of it. And even beyond that, by like working with influencers and getting like branded products in the platform marketplace in general, all of it. So when you come to market, you kind of are casting such a wide net that you're reaching different users that are leveraging different things within the platform. And that's where the creative marketing and creative kind of campaign strategy comes in.
Love that. And I would love to see any examples if you have done the second method or the white label one, if you can share with us. While you're sharing your screen on that, I'm going to get to some of the comments from our audience. Ian says, immersive commercial. Yes, I know Ian is amazing building immersive commercials with his own product, Sneakar. Yes, totally. This is the future. And collaboration over competition, 100%. We are not experts in everything, all of us. And infinite possibilities, totally. Yemi says Meta Horizon has a teeming number of kids just running around the gamified experiences like hamsters on a wheel, especially the Squid Games environment. It was interesting to watch in real time. Yeah, I mean, they're creating these attractive experiences for kids, and it could be used for good or bad, and that's the questionable part. Cool. So let's look at this experience. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so this is Fenty, Rihanna's company. This is we built a standalone experience for her.
Beautiful.
And so this is just the world that we built. There's scavenger hunts, and we also designed something where users could design their own gloss bombs, which is a lipstick, and you can create the color, the name, the bottle design, and you customized it, and then it got voted on by the community, and then ultimately voted on by Rihanna herself, and she chose one product, and then they manufactured it in the real world, and then they sold it in stores, and it sold out within like 3 days. So that's just an example of kind of how you can move bottom funnel and kind of get into the real world.
I love that experience. I'm a big fan of that product. And also, I remember when this was announced, this was one of the coolest strategies to engage the audience, give them something that they have never seen before. Who would have thought collaborating with Rihanna on a lipstick? And then, just this will be sold and stuff like that. So that was very creative. That kind of brings a question to me, like, what is your process of coming up with these ideas and strategies? Are these all coming from you all and your team, or is it coming from the clients, or you have other agency partners? Kind of like, how do you navigate all of this?
Yeah, a lot of it's coming from us as far as like the creative strategy and design strategy for what the activation is. And mainly that's based on two things. One, our deep experience of working with brands and knowing like how to translate stories, but more importantly, understanding those platforms, those communities, and the trends of what the people want to do. So it's about like merging those two things to come up with a design that's going to perform well on those platforms. But the clients, the ones that are leaning in really hard right now, they're learning more and more about these platforms and about these communities. So they're starting to have their own creative ideas when they come to the table, and they might offer something that makes sense, and then we work with them to kind of bring that to life. I would say like 80% of the time it's the previous example where we have to help kind of like lead, but 20% of the time they have a great idea. And that Fenty example, it was actually the client's idea to create that IRL gloss bomb. I think that was they had the seed of the idea, and then we helped figure out like, well, how do you actually bring that to the platform and gamify it and encourage users to actually do it, and then ensuring that it's going to be successful.
And the feasibility, because not every cool idea can be created in every platform. So it's definitely a collaborative approach, and they bring in the subject matter expertise. You bring in the platform and other aspects. And so the magic will happen that way. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Ian says, and you get the digital fire. This is so epic. Yes, totally. And we do have a question and comments too. We'll get to that. Let's get into the next experience you want to share with us. Is that Fortnite?
Yeah, this is Fortnite, and this is Mickey 17. So we did an integration into one of the top Fortnite games on the platform, which is minigame box PvP. And so this is like just like a survival game, a battle royale style. Just fight all the other people until you're the last one standing. But we changed it and we added Mickey 17. He's the character that has the goggles and the hat on. And so Mickey joins your team to help you fight, and anyone can grab a Mickey. And if you're not familiar with this film, it just came out on Friday. It's an awesome movie. But the story is it's a sci-fi film in the future. And basically he can clone himself. he like dedicates himself to science and to helping humanity. And so he signs up for this, and they print him out of a machine, and then they send him out into space, into places that are really dangerous, and they're like, see if it's safe. And so he goes and he dies, and they learn from that, and then they print another one out, and then they send him again. So that's the core concept of the film. And we took that concept and we integrated it into the game seamlessly, so players can print out Mickeys, and he fights with you, and he's expendable, so he can take the bullet for you, and so you don't have to, and he can help you win. And if he gets eliminated, then you can print another one out. And so everyone's doing that. And you know, it's a really great example of how you can take something that's so relevant and work it in so organically, and it's a win-win for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for sharing that. So what are some of the lessons you learned as you created this variety of immersive experiences? What can you share with us?
Yeah, I mean, the lessons are, it's not enough to make something that's cool. You got to make something that really resonates with that specific target audience inside that specific platform. So you have to understand the community. And if you don't, and you don't understand the game types, you most likely will not be successful. I've also learned that you're making a product now. You're not making a video file. You're not making a flat standard deliverable. You're making like a web app or an application, a game. You're making something that's persistent and ongoing. So from a design standpoint, that's a big jump up. So that's the wake up call, where it's like, it's not enough to make something great where users can pop in there for a minute and have fun. I mean, that's just not good enough. You have to figure out, like, why would they come back the next day? Or how can we make something that makes them want to play for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes? It's a totally different way to think. So those are the two big things that I've learned. And another thing is just like, we're playing in the innovation space. So you have to have thick skin. You have to kind of not be afraid. And you're pioneering things that never been done. So it's frustrating. It's scary. It's not predictable. You don't know the outcome. You have to just like lean into that direction and be happy and, push yourself in order to like see results and make clients happy. But it's scary, and there's a learning curve there. And I think if you're the kind of person that just wants to do what they know works and enjoy your life, like, don't get into innovation.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of our amazing community members are the ones that want to try new things and want to adopt new things, and are excited about these challenges. So that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. So in terms of, like you just mentioned, it's like a product that you're developing. I'm actually very curious about like your team and how that looks, because it might not be the traditional agency structure. And you also mentioned like you need to understand the community. And now these games are on Discord, and the communities are on Twitch and everywhere. So curious, like, what type of teams do you need to have to be able to make this happen? Like from the age range or experience range and all of that.
That's a great question. And I think I'll just go back to what I was saying earlier, is that any creative director or any like studio that wants to translate creative ideas, they can do that in either the format and the medium that they're currently working on, or a new one. So if you just have that mentality, that really is like the most important part. I think if you don't have that mentality, and like you only make games, or you only make videos, and you're not really willing to think outside the box, you're not going to be successful. This would not be for you. But I think for most creatives that want to, at the end of the day, you're telling a story. You're trying to immerse people in the thing that you're doing. So when you add interactivity into that, you can really go and execute what's in your brain. So that's what I think is really good. Sorry, I totally blanked on the question. I'm going somewhere.
I love it. You're
going somewhere
so passionate,
good with this.
and you just go and give us more excitement about all of this. So I was asking about the team.
Oh, the team.
like when you're creating something like this that is more of a product, not a passive experience, do you have like product managers?
Yes.
Do you have a community person? But then even the community person is not your community. You have to tap into other communities.
Yeah,
Like, how
that's
do
great.
you go about that?
Yeah, that's so what I was saying was like, some of your team currently, they want to execute an idea and bring it to life. You can still use a lot of those people in your Roblox experience or your Minecraft experience. Like what we did at Sawhorse is we took a lot of the amazing creatives that we have and we kind of just brought them over. So like creative directors, art directors, producers, post-production supervisors, visual effects artists, graphic designers. We took those team members and we brought them into the interactive side. And those are the same people that are building all the stuff that you just saw. But we partnered them with game designers, developers, and 3D artists from the gaming world, but more specifically from those platforms. So on the Roblox side, we found amazing, talented developers, 3D artists, game designers that have been building on Roblox for like 10 years. And they're young. This is like their first job they've ever had, but they have the most experience. So they're proficient, they're talented, they're hardworking, and they understand the community. So when we get in a room and we start ideating, like, what are we going to build here and how is it going to work? It's cool because they're going to lean on, trends that they understand on the platform and things that they know the community is going to like. But at the same time, we have people on the traditional side, like the film side, the filmmaking side, the more agency, suggesting all these crazy ideas out of left field. And we kind of melt them all together until we get to like an experience. Because I feel like we really are building these immersive marketing experiences. We're not necessarily building games. It's a new kind of genre. If we were making games, we probably wouldn't be making branded temporary games. We would be making top games on the platform, but that's not our goal. And that's not the goal of the brands. So I think it's really healthy to have diverse voices on your teams. Some people that don't even play games, they just have a different point of view. Get them in a room. But it is a balance between those voices and like the legit devs that are just going to do it with or without you. Force them together.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. We have a question from Eileen asking what sorts of cost it will take to create and run a branded experience on Roblox. Can you import your own IP assets, like your own native avatar and custom?
Yeah, so it all depends. It really depends on the scope and the scale and the goals of the experience. I mean, you can make something very quickly, very cost effectively, for, I don't know, $10,000. Like throw some people together, get that, and you can be on the platform with something that's kind of cool. All the way up to $1 million plus. So it really depends on all of those factors.
Cool. So it's about finding the right partners and evaluating what it takes for the scope that you're looking for. Cool. Yep. Thank you so much for sharing that. Can you share a little bit about what are some of the challenge, like bad experiences that you've seen in the market? Like, what are some of the missteps that brands have taken that you recommend people avoiding?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus,
You don't need to mention names. But
don't mention names, but it really is when you don't understand the community. You show up in a way where you think people are really going to like it, and it's just they don't want to do those behaviors. Oh, sorry, one sec.
Yes, and we're almost approaching the end of this session. So if you all have any questions, please put it in the comment section. And thank you so much for all of your engagement. Yemi, Natalia, Anita, Ian, Aileen, everyone else who's been very engaged. Havo, Chris. We're going to get to Chris's questions as well. But yeah, you were saying, Nick?
Yeah, so as far as like things not to do, experiences that didn't perform well, I think the first thing is just if you don't understand the community and you're kind of arrogant, You're like, oh, I'm this brand. I'm so special. People love me. I'm just going to go in here and show them how cool I am without understanding the, the space. That just won't work. So I've seen a lot of that. I've also seen a lot of people not know how to promote the thing that they built. To your point earlier, it's like I've seen people spend a lot of money and a lot of time into making a really cool thing that actually is fun and does work, but nobody came to it because they didn't understand how to access it. They just weren't aware. Also, there's people are trying to figure out how to show up. At first, like during the pandemic, the direction was, oh, go make your persistent world on this platform. Like go make like Nike Land, for instance, and it's going to be up all the time. So that was like the first thought. And then I think the reality is, in order to keep a persistent experience engaging and keep fans around, it takes monthly updates, live ops, deep game design. And this tends to be a big investment for brands, and it's a lot on their teams. So, other ways of activating is like a pop-up activation, like you promote one specific product, look at it like an immersive ad, the same way they're creating commercials in the real world. You could do one of those on Roblox for 1 month, get all the engagement, and then you sunset it. Like that's another way to think. Or the integration route, just go into this game for 2 weeks, get a ton of engagement, let them know about the brand, and then go away. And then think about how you're going to be doing that at different times throughout the year. Mm-hmm. So again, it all goes back to education, understanding the community, understanding the platform, and having good strategy.
Totally. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's very important. And quickly, we had this question from Chris in terms of cybersecurity. I mean, some of these challenges that, we should be more worried about when we're dealing with younger generations. Are these something that you all handle, or is it all on Roblox?
I guess I would want to know more specifics, like what about the cybersecurity? Because the one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of this is on the platform, not on the developer or the brand, because you're stepping into a platform that is dealing with this stuff, trust and safety, moderation. I mean, it's their responsibility to make sure that it's a safe place. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I think when it's tertiary platform, so it's like it's a different type of responsibility. And Chris, if that's not clear, please share more details.
The only thing that I would just add there is just on top of that, from an ethical standpoint, if you're going to make like an immersive commercial, we need to be honest about that. Like, I think it's really bad if you go into these experiences and you try to like not be transparent about what's happening. Like, you don't want to go into an experience that has a very, very young audience and try to integrate in there seamlessly without any notification that this is an advertisement. That user base might be too young to know it's an ad, and then that's kind of borderline unethical. I think you need to be clear about the fact that this is an immersive ad, and you are opting in to this experience and adding value,
Totally. Without that, it's just not gonna fly. And Ian is asking your thoughts about blockchain asset ownership. Have you guys done anything with blockchain Web3?
Yeah, we have. So we've worked with Tommy Hilfiger in the past, and a couple of other brands, Aloe and a couple others, and we created digital assets, like digital wearables for avatars on platforms like Decentraland and Sandbox. And yeah, we've had some success there. I'm personally very bullish on the blockchain. I'm not so bullish on crypto, but I love blockchain technology because I feel like interoperability of digital assets is something we all are going to want. Like, hopefully we live in a world in the future where it's not owned by two companies and, there's 20 metaverses. And if I buy a jacket over here, I could bring it over there. Mm-hmm. So I think that I'm excited about that. I think the technology continues to move forward. And I think if you can remove the technical side of it is really a hurdle that needs to happen, because having a digital wallet and managing that process and like everything that goes along with that can be overwhelming for people, and also like a turnoff for people. So I think that like if it can be as seamless and as seamless as using a credit card. Like I don't understand how credit card technology works, and I don't want to. I don't want to think about it. I just use my card and it works. That's it. Like if the blockchain related things can be on that level, then I think more people will use it.
Love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. And so, what do you think is this whole industry moving towards over the short term, like 1 or 2 years? What's changing, and what do you think will change in 5 to 10 years with AI boom? I mean, AI is moving so fast, so it may not even take 5, 10 years. But what are your thoughts? What are your predictions?
I mean, my main prediction is that brands will realize that they need to make their marketing more interactive, and they need to make it faster and maybe even a little cheaper. So that's where AI comes in, and they have to make it more personalized. That's a big one, you know, and that there's a lot of automation around personalization with AI. So that's on. And so I just predict more and more brands, you know, coming in and figuring this out. I think right now we're at a stage where we're figuring out how to measure the value and how to benchmark the value. This is happening on all the major platforms, plus augmented reality applet, you know, activations and other type of, you know, emerging tech activations. I think we need more standardization, and I think we need more reporting. I mean, more data. We need more like Nielsen studies to come out and say, look at all these AR activations that happened for the past 3 years. Look how that benchmarks to TV. What does this mean? And so I think a lot of brands are going to be in the innovation space with this for another couple of years. And then I think, you know, 5, 10 from now, like almost all ads will have layers of interactivity and immersion.
Totally. And we're already seeing a lot of brands are using AI, and it's just cheaper, you know, more creative in some ways to use them. And not everybody's putting a disclaimer that this is AI. So it's going to become just a natural element to have interactive experiences with it. Cool. And what is next for Sawhorse Productions? Are you looking at scaling all of this great work that you're doing? You know, as more and more brands are, you know, opening their minds about this, I would imagine you all become super busy. So what is happening? What's next?
Yeah, next for us is really, as a creative agency, we want to help the biggest brands in the world activate within the largest UGC gaming platforms and leverage the bleeding edge technologies to create immersive activations and commercials for their needs. So we're going to continue to do that and push the envelope on platforms like Roblox and Fortnite and Rec Room and Zepeto. And we're also going to leverage new technologies, especially around augmented reality. You know, augmented reality is going to be built into our glasses over the next couple of years. So most people are going to be walking down the street, and there's a whole untapped ecosystem, a whole layer of reality that is a place for brands to activate in. So we really want to be leveraging all these technologies and creating the future of what an immersive commercial is, you know, and having that show up in so many different ways. But I keep going back to this thing about added value. I want to do it in a way that people enjoy, they choose to participate in, and they earn something and feel good after that. You know, I don't want to live in the Blade Runner dystopian future where you walk down the street and there's so many blinding lights and ads in your face. You're like, I don't even know what this is. I think there's ways of doing it from a design perspective that is really beneficial and additive to people's lives.
And do it in a mindful manner, like you all have been doing it already with these immersive experiences. Thank you so much, Nick. You're definitely at the forefront of all of this. There is no, you know, innovation in this space without Sawhorse Production being one of the trailblazers in this space. So thank you for doing this for the industry and sharing your insights with us. There's so much more I could, you know, ask from you, but we only had 1 hour. And you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Nico, and thanks for your important work at all the podcasts that you do and the amazing people you talk to. It's really fantastic work, and thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. And I know you have your own podcast as well, which I've been watching some. And I highly encourage everyone, check out, make sure to follow Nick and check out their podcast. And I want to thank our amazing, engaged, lovely community, Chris, Havo, Ian, everyone who tuned in, Yemi. We're so grateful for all of your comments, questions, and engagement. This is an interactive experience, and this is a great community, and we're so grateful. Next week, we're not going to have the show, unfortunately, because I will be at GDC. I know Nick will be at GDC. If you all are going to be at the Game Developers Conference, hit us up. We would love to see you in person. And we'll be back the following week on Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST again. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.